Hello, and welcome to another special edition of the Insane and Deadly. I've just recently retired my Blinkblade in my Frosthaven playthrough, so I thought I'll take some time and talk about my thoughts and reflections on this wonderful class that is the Blinkblade. As usual, before we start, let's go through my preamble. I always play on Insane +3 difficulty when I'm playing solo, and I very much enjoy playing 4 players. So, if you haven't never played on +3 with 4 players before, it means that there are way more monsters than your 203 version, and the monsters have more hit points, they hit harder, which means the scenario tends to last longer. The monsters also move more hexes per turn. They're immune to more conditions, so some of the strategies that may be viable on lower level difficulties are not as viable on a higher class difficulty. So while I'm looking at the class, especially in the case of Blinkblade, I will absolutely be evaluating it in the context of these changes to the monster levels. It also means on +3 difficulty you scale much faster. So you will pick up some of the higher level cards much quicker, and you're more likely going to hit level 9 with your Blinkblade. I also have a pretty busy life during the week, so I don't always have time to play Frosthaven. So while I do play, I'm very much focused on finishing the game rather than trying to do everything possible, looting all the treasures or looting all the items. It's a victory for me if I can finish a scenario per week. So while I'm playing, I absolutely do not want to lose, so I always play to the primary objective. I'm fairly conservative while I play, so if it means making a high risk, high reward play versus a lower risk and more conservative play, I tend to take the more conservative path, just because I don't really have time to replay any scenarios. So if I want to sort of finish in one if possible. And as such, every single card, I like the way Frosthaven's designed. The scenario is so varied. It's not like Gloomhaven where you have a cookie cutter build for most of the class. In Frosthaven, you really can expand and try different things depending on the scenario. So I think rather than me giving you a cookie cutter build, I will talk through the cards I've picked as I leveled up, but I'll also talk more to the strength and weaknesses of each card as we go through the card. So, it will mean I will primarily judge the class by the following 4 criteria. And these 4 tend to also be the primary objectives of the Frosthaven missions. The Frosthaven missions, despite its variety, tends to boil down to 4 things. Can you kill everything? Can you survive for long enough? Can you retreat to a certain hex? Or can you escort a VIP or protect an objective? So I think some of the other guides you'll find online talk about things like initiative. They're absolutely important, but I will judge solely by these 4 criteria. I will talk a little bit about initiative, because Blinkblade is definitely one of those classes where initiative is very interesting. But yeah, primarily I'll be looking at these 4 criteria out of a score of 5. So let's take a quick look at Blinkblade's class mechanic. Blinkblade is a 10 card class, so very similar to Banner Spear in that sense, but Blinkblade plays very, very differently. The 10 card can last you a long time, or it can last you just a few rounds, depending how you play Blinkblade. We'll get into it. The primary class mechanic is the time token. You start with 1 time token at the beginning of the game. You can gain time token if you declare slow at the beginning of your round, or you can spend time token if you declare fast. Fast and slow, as you can see in the middle box on the right hand side there, give you 2 different sets of effects depending on if you're going fast or if you're going slow, including initiative. And the initiative difference is always 30 apart. It means basically, on a very high level, even though you have only 10 cards to play with, each card has 2 halves. So in some sense, you kind of have 20 cards in terms of battle options. Although when you get down to it, Blinkblade's option really just comes down to how many times you want to stab an enemy. The hit point pool is middle of the track, so you're not quite a tank like Masteries or Drifter, nor are you a spellcaster like Deathwalker or Bone Shaper, which is quite helpful because Blinkblade will often be on the front line. Blinkblade is predominantly a melee class. Even though you have many ways to avoid being attacked, having a slightly above spellcaster hit point pool does allow you the ability to tank a few hits, especially as you get into the higher levels and you start getting those +2 hit point increases between level 4 and level 5, and again between 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. In terms of back of the mat, no elemental affinities, that's more or less correct, although Blinkblade, unlike Drifter, actually does generate some elements from time to time, which can be helpful for your team. Especially within the starting class, the fact that you can generate fire and ice is in particularly helpful for Geminate. I think the complexity level here is a bit overdone. Once you get used to Blinkblade's mechanic, I think Blinkblade is actually a fairly low complexity character. So in that sense, I think Blinkblade is a perfect starting class. I think probably the only thing I will kick about Blinkblade is the earlier level frustrations in handling with the inherent resistance that is the class mechanic of Time Token, which we'll talk about in a second. In terms of bars below, I don't rate these very high, but I do think Blinkblade is predominantly a melee class. That is absolutely right. The high mobility is absolutely right as well. Low support and defense, I'm not 100% sure about these things. Blinkblade does have a mechanic that allows Blinkblade to tank a little bit. You know, you can definitely moonlight as an off tank. So not 100% sure about the defense point. And in terms of support, Blinkblade actually does have some way to support the team, just not as direct as perhaps Masteries or Drifter can do. So in any case, we'll be looking at our own judgment criteria for Blinkblade. With that out of the way, let's take a look at my thoughts of the Blinkblade and the scoring I'm going to give to each of those criteria. So as I did in my previous 2 videos for Masteries and Drifter, I picked out 3 characteristics for someone who probably would enjoy playing Blinkblade, and they are patient, independent, and confident, which are all some more positive traits, I suppose. So what do I mean by those? Well, in terms of patient, I think Blinkblade has a very unique power curve. Whereas most classes tend to get stronger uniformly, you know, you learn the class mechanic, and then you start to pick up cards that expand and improve those mechanic, but your character doesn't run away with those mechanic. So, you know, take Masteries and Drifter, for example, the 2 classes I've covered so far. You basically have everything you know about your mechanic available at level 1, and the subsequent cards as you level up just improves upon the outcome of those mechanic. Whereas Blinkblade is almost like you start with this very clunky mechanic, and you're not 100% sure why it's there other than to cause you frustration. But then as you level up, those mechanic just goes absolutely bananas out of the window. And you start to see what really can be accomplished with that mechanic. So much so that sometimes you feel like you're playing 2 characters rather than 1. That's how effective Blinkblade can be at higher level. So what I often see with new players is at a lower level Blinkblade, you really struggle with the time token mechanic. Not in the sense that you will, you know, people get confused about it. After a couple of games, new players tend to pick up on the idea of the mechanic. But you struggle with being effective because your slow turns are at level 1 not very good generally. So you want to be fast, but sometimes the flow of the game means you can't be fast on the turns you want to be fast, and you end up being slow, or particularly in a 4-player setting with Blinkblade being very melee heavied with almost no ranged options. At level 1, you sometimes just get blocked out because the monster is standing in the wrong place, because you haven't quite got that initiative in your head yet, especially if you're a new player, you don't really understand the range of initiative the monster can go, and you don't really know your teammate. In particular, like I said, in a 4-player game where everyone's jostling for melee space, take scenario 1, for example, a Tower in Flames. You have a narrow choke point in the first room, and if you have a Bone Shaper on the team, and a melee Drifter on the team, and maybe like, I don't know, a Banner Spear on the team, you quickly run out of space where Blinkblade can slip in and do what Blinkblade is supposed to do. And if you don't know that, you think, oh, I'm going to go fast this turn, hit something, do some damage, but oh no, I'm blocked out, and I can't do what I'm going to do, and I have no other way of doing anything else because I don't really have any like healing like Drifter or Banner Spear who can just move the team or have range attack. You don't have any of those things, so very often I see new players pick up Blinkblade, a little bit confused by the time token mechanic, but more so just getting frustrated because on the fast turns you're not really doing anything because you're just not able to, and you don't have any other options available. And then your slow turn is just absolutely dreadful because you just do nothing on your slow turn. Like you just move to attack 2, or sometimes you just move to, and it feels terrible. So I think first thing for the Blinkblade player is, if you're picking up Blinkblade for the first time, be patient. Your character will get better, much, much better. Despite your early level struggle, you will enjoy Blinkblade if you hold out long enough to the later level. Which also means that as a patient player, you will enjoy just making your slow turn count when you're at your early level. So I often say to new players, don't worry too much about being, all firework and show bids on your fast turns. Think about how you can just make your slow turn count. And if you can do that, you're already a very successful Blinkblade at an early level. Now, your patient is absolutely rewarded in the sense that your character can function pretty much independently on its own. Unlike the Banner Spear, who needs to have allies to help complete a formation. Unlike the Drifter, who, yes, you can tank, but, if you are just up there taking all the hits by yourself, you're very quickly going to be reduced to just a pile of rubble. Blinkblade can more or less operate as a single assassin type of character. You don't need much team support. You don't need much communication even. Most of your turns is just, I'm gonna go either really, really fast and stab the whole bunch of things in that corner, hopefully just kill one, or hey, I'm gonna go kind of slow, I'm gonna hang back, I'm gonna just sort myself out, and the next turn I can explode. So in terms of communication, I find Blinkblade is pretty straightforward. Most of the time, our Blinkblade in the group just says, I'm gonna make a play this turn, or I need a turn to relax and I can make a play next turn. And in that sense, Blinkblade is actually really, really good if you're teaming up with somebody like a Drifter or a Banner Spear, right, who needs a little bit of team interaction. In a 4-player game, communication is very important. There's so much unknown information that you need to decipher as a team in order to be successful. And Blinkblade can make that communication channel very simple. Whereas a Banner Spear may be saying, hey, I need someone to be here. You can be like, look, I can move a bazillion hexes. I can totally be there if you want me to. Just tell me when. Tell me when. You want me to go fast? And everyone knows Blinkblade can go really, really fast. And everyone knows Blinkblade can go really, really slow. So the communication around that initiative, around the simplicity of your playstyle, makes it very good for a 4-player party to have a Blinkblade. Against that, there's a little bit of funny thing. Because the way Blinkblade's mechanic is worded, you are declaring fast or slow on the beginning of your round. I find that actually hampers somewhat the communication because of the choice of wording. I wonder if that's deliberate. Because often when you're talking to your team, you'll be like, hey, I want to go fast-ish this round. Move to the door, maybe open it, and then throw a spear at the enemy, right? That would be a typical communication. Whereas I often find when I'm playing the Blinkblade, or my friends playing the Blinkblade, Sometimes you're like, look, I'm gonna go slow this round, but I'm gonna go kind of fast in my slow range. So, and then that becomes very confusing, especially when four of us are chatting over like Discord, trying to figure out what everyone's doing. That information is often missed, and then bad things happen to the team. So there's a little bit of that inherent resistance. But if your team is a dedicated group of Frosthaven players and they pay attention to your cards, and they learn your cards and they learn your ability, that should be easily overcome. But it's just kind of funny when Blinkblade is saying, I can't go fast this round. I have to go slow, but I'm trying to go fast within the slow initiative. And finally, if you stuck out to like a level 6 plus and above, you will grow out of your cocoon and become a real butterfly Blinkblade. You'll become a confident, independent Blinkblade that can do things. And I guess here what I really mean by the confident trait is once you are relaxed and understood with your class mechanic and you have all the pieces to make those play, be confident, absolutely make those play. Nothing is better for the team than hearing a Blinkblade saying, look, I am going in, I'm gonna take out that troublesome archer at the back, or that shaman who's giving us a lot of headache, or I'm gonna make some plays and hopefully I'm gonna destroy half the room. That's what you like to hear with a Blinkblade on your team. Having said that, let's have a look at the 4 criteria and the scoring. So for kill, I think it's going to be absolutely a I wish I could give it 6, but out of 5, I'm definitely giving Blinkblade 5. Blinkblade is shockingly good at doing single target damage, and on +3 difficulty, that's exactly what you want. You want to be able to burst down a key target quickly and immediately, and Blinkblade can do both of those things. Blinkblade can do a lot of damage very quickly and can get fast enough on the initiative track consistently to take out that enemy before they act. Whereas Masteries and Drifter somewhat struggles with that sometimes. You think, oh, okay, I'm going to take out that archer, but hey, I got beaten by the initiative, now I take 2 shots to the face. That's not a problem for a good Blinkblade. Blinkblade can identify the target and take it out. Blinkblade can also do some crazy burst plays with some of the cards we're going to look at in a little bit. The burst play does reduce significantly Blinkblade's stamina, but does that even matter if you're taking out, like if you're trying to kill a boss, dragging it out might be bad for the team, but if Blinkblade can go in, dump 20 to 30 damage, and then goes out with a bang, that's not a problem for the party. That is actually a very good thing. So yeah, definitely 5 out of 5. I think Blinkblade is definitely one of the best single target damage dealer in the whole of Frosthaven. And if you're playing with a high level Blinkblade in your party, you will feel it when the Blinkblade player leaves the party and retires into something else. Blinkblade, not only are the cards good in doing damage, Blinkblade has access to self-strengthen with the movement, which is one of the best thing I think that can happen to a damage dealer in Frosthaven. And bundled with on top of that, Blinkblade has a crazy attack modifier deck. Not only you have self-strengthen, you have multiple attacks per round, you also have a crazy attack modifier deck, which we'll look at in a second. Compared to Masteries and Drifter, I think Blinkblade's attack modifier deck is on a whole different level of stratosphere. So all of those mechanics combines into a great damage dealer. The only thing that's going against Blinkblade is Retaliate. Because you do many attacks in a round, Retaliate really hurts, and you don't really have too many ways of dealing with that. At level 1 you have one card that kind of gets you to bypass it, but it's not particularly good at it, and it's very clunky to use. So as I go through the cards, I'll definitely highlight cards I think that can help you overcome Retaliate. And the other thing is Shield. Again, because you do many little attacks in one round, Shield definitely just reduces your ability to handle, to dish out damage. But again, Blinkblade has cards to deal with Shield, and in some sense, Blinkblade is much better at dealing with shielded enemies than against Retaliate enemies. Definitely the worst combo for Blinkblade would be someone who's both shielded and retaliating. And which also contributes to the theme of at an earlier level, before you have those pieces that allows you to deal with these guys effectively, you definitely feel like it's a bit of an uphill climb when you're seeing like a retaliating shielded enemy, like the living corpse, for example. Elite living corpse is a classic example where Blinkblade is going to struggle at the earlier level. One thing I would mention is in my latest playthrough, this is the first time I've tried out the level 9 cards, which allows you to quote-unquote summon, or maybe the better word here is copy an enemy. With your attack modifier deck, Blinkblade summon is just crazy. I can't believe I've never tried that card until this playthrough, and it is amazing. It actually makes me reevaluate about the whole Blinkblade build between the what's online called the Nova build, which is the burst build, versus the build I've gone through on my latest playthrough. So I'll talk about that in a second. I think I'll just say I won't be talking about the slow blade build, I think it's called online perhaps, just because I've never actually played with a slow blade build myself, and I've actually never seen any players in my group go for the slow blade build. So I know that build exists, and that build is basically you just have a Blinkblade going slow all the time, and there's some cards around it. I will sort of vaguely highlight it as I go through the cards, but I have no experience of that build, and I don't feel like I am qualified to comment on the effectiveness of that build. In terms of survival, I'll give 4 out of 5 for Blinkblade. Blinkblade is actually amazing solo survivalist. That's the only knock I have for Blinkblade. Is what makes Blinkblade so good at surviving, but also means if the mission objective is for the whole group to survive, Blinkblade is not good at doing that, because Blinkblade's way of surviving is to go invisible effectively. You kind of go, you know what, team, you're on your own, I'm gonna go invisible here, and I'm gonna go very slow next round, so I'm gonna go invisible for basically 2 rounds, and I'm gonna be fine, don't worry about me, but you guys are on your own, and that's that. I guess Blinkblade's way of really surviving is just to kill the enemy. That's probably the best defense is an offense for Blinkblade. Blinkblade has, like I said, 2 cards giving access to invisibility. Invisibility, I think, is one of the more powerful conditions you can obtain in Frosthaven. Blinkblade has access to invisibility in 2 cards. Both top and bottom is so amazing. So for any scenario where you just want Blinkblade to survive, Blinkblade has no problem with that. There are a couple of scenarios in particular I think I have in mind where you just need Blinkblade to like survive next to an objective, and oh my god, if you don't have a Blinkblade in your party, those scenarios are proper struggle. But Blinkblade is so good at those scenarios, it makes them trivial. Besides that, Blinkblade also has access to decent self-heal, I'd say. Ability to obtain ward, obtain regen. So given a leather armor, cured hide armor, I mean Blinkblade doesn't have item ignore perk, but give Blinkblade a cured hide armor. You can even give Blinkblade a heater shield. Blinkblade can easily help you part-time tank. So if you are playing your group on higher level difficulties without, like someone like Drifter or Battlespirit with a high hit point pool tracker, and the rest of your teammates are all pretty squishy, Blinkblade can function as a part-time tank. It does detract from Blinkblade's ability to make play, because sometimes when Blinkblade makes the play, Blinkblade is vulnerable and maybe be taking hit. So it does detract from the risk margin that's available to a Blinkblade player, but absolutely you have the ability to tank a little bit. Now, in terms of for retreating, running away, even though Blinkblade doesn't really have a natural jump, there's a card that gives Blinkblade jump, and we can talk about it. But even without it, like Blinkblade doesn't even need it. Unlike the Drifter, which has somewhat of a conditional running situation, you have to give yourself a running ability and then you can run, but when you start running, you're pretty good at it. Blinkblade is just naturally good at running. I think Blinkblade and Drifter can totally compete in a field and track event in the Olympics. And I'm not gonna say who's better at marathoning. I think probably Drifter is still better at running a marathon, but Blinkblade is definitely fantastic at running a sprint. So much so that I don't even think Blinkblade needs jump. I mean, who cares about jumping when you can just run like 20 hexes in one round? You can run all the way around the map and again. You don't need to jump. But in order to enable Blinkblade to do those movement, especially the most extreme movement, we're going to move more than 10 hexes, Blinkblade will be playing Lost card, and stamina is definitely a issue for Blinkblade. So I see Blinkblade and Drifter are kind of both very good at running. Both don't really have jump. Drifter is sort of better at running more consistently, and Blinkblade is very good at running when you need to run. But if you need to run consistently fast, which you don't really need to in Frosthaven, to be honest, you're going to lose cards, and it's going to detract from the rest of your abilities. But still, absolutely a 5 for retreating. Finally, Escort. Now this is where Blinkblade's weakness is. Blinkblade, I'll give 3 out of 5 for escorting. Blinkblade has heals, but like I said earlier, most of the heals for Blinkblade himself, being an independent agent of chaos. Blinkblade does have team heal starting at level 1. It's limited, but it is pretty useful. And again, I'll cover it when I get to the cards. So if you think, hey, like, I need to operate all by myself and all by my lonesome forever and ever, and that's it. In a 4-player game, taking that time, especially in your downturns, to heal the team as a Blinkblade will gain you a lot of gratitude from the team. And you have a pretty decent, albeit limited, team heal. There's a card, in particular, I'll probably just highlight now, in terms of granting ally movement, and that is Rush to the End. This card is actually pretty good. This is a level 7 card, so you're definitely going to need to be a high level Blinkblade before you pick it up. But the fact that on a slow turn, you can grant ally move 6 is pretty amazing. So, you know, I think some people might think Blinkblade is more of a solo, independent, assassin type of character. I actually found that in terms of escort missions, the move 6, I mean, sure, Band of Spirit can move your ally for like 3 and a 2 consistently, but sometimes you just want the character, you just want your ally to move a lot in one round. Because yes, consistent moving is nice and all, but sometimes there might be difficult terrain in the way that's stopping you from moving. So maybe a move 2 doesn't really do much. Hey, Blinkblade can move your ally. It's 1 card per rest cycle, but if you save that card, it can absolutely make a difference. So whilst Blinkblade has, I think this is probably a theme for Blinkblade in terms of supporting the team and escorting VIPs. Like, you can do it, you just have to time it correctly. But what Blinkblade can absolutely do is Blinkblade can always just run in at very fast initiative and tank a hit as a last resort. So if your objective's getting attacked, oh, my Banner Spear can't quite get there, my Drifter can't quite get there, that's fine. Blinkblade just says, I will move at 4 initiative, I'll run hexes, I'll just take a hit, it's all good. And I've done that multiple times in many playthroughs as a Blinkblade, you know, like whether it's for ally, whether it's for objective, as a last resort, just hit me in the face and I'm cool with it. I got enough hit point to take it. So 5-4-5-3, Blinkblade is definitely one of the stronger, probably I would say Blinkblade is the strongest of the starting 6. Not at lower levels, you're going to face that frustration of handling Blinkblade's all the gears and switches at the lower level, but once the Blinkblade gets to like 5-6, oh my god, does this character shine, and particularly shines really well at a +3 difficulty. So if your team is struggling with +3, maybe it's time to roll a Blinkblade. Okay, let's have a look at cards. I've circled a little bit of thing here so we can talk about some specific combos, because that is in the nature of Blinkblade. But let's start with level 1 cards. I've divided level 1 cards into what I think is 4 categories. Cards you want to play on fast, cards you want to play on slow, cards that you can play fast or slow, and cards that It's more of a sideboard choices. The reason I've done that is because I find, certainly when the first time I played Blinkblade, I didn't quite understand how to be effective. I just found it quite frustrating. Like I said earlier, a lot of the time, like, I want to go fast and I don't have the right fast cards because I've played them already just to make something happen. And that sort of threw me. It felt like Blinkblade was very ineffective a lot of the times. But if you have in mind that some cards you're going to save for a fast turn, even though you might be able to play it now and get a little bit of value out of them, if you just save them to maximize the value of those cards on fast, and some cards you want to save on slow and maximize value of them on slow. I'm talking strictly on early levels, because some of these cards definitely morphs and shifts as you level up. But like at level 1, level 2, if you have in mind, hey, these cards I want to play on fast to maximize effectiveness, and these cards want to play on slow to maximize effectiveness, and then the rest of the cards I play is just sort of setting me up to do those things on fast and slow turns, you're going to be much more effective. So let's get into it. I think no better cards to get into than Power Leak. This is the classic Blinkblade card. It's attack 4 on the top. If you don't have poison, gain poison and gain extra target. I mean, this card, if you are playing it not on fast, is almost criminal, I would say. On 4-player game, there's no excuse. You'll definitely be able to find 2 targets that's standing somewhat close to each other. And your goal as a Blinkblade, if you can execute a double attack Power Leak every single round, every single rest cycle, you are already going to be a very, very good Blinkblade. So this card, I think, absolutely should be played on fast. Yes, you can play on slow. You muddle yourself. That's probably the last thing you play on slow before your long rest. But hey, your goal, I think, at a level 1 Blinkblade should be to learn how to play this card on fast and do 8 damage to the enemy. The initiative is also pretty good here. You want to basically pair this card with this starting item, which allows you to heal off the poison immediately, because standing in front of an enemy that you might not have killed, especially if you're standing in front of 2 enemies with poison on yourself, is pretty suicidal at level 1. So your goal is just to combo Amulet of Life into Power Leak every single rest cycle at level 1. The bottom half, again, to do a move 3 heal to target all is not a bad action, but it's not something you really want to do as a 10 card hand-sized class. Similar to Banner Spear, I would say you probably only want to play 1 or 2 lost cards maximum, especially on +3 difficulty when the scenario lasts a very, very long time. Playing too many of these non-important actions will cost you. So yes, this could be pulled off as emergency trigger for the team, but more likely than not, you want to leave that healing to somebody else. A Power Leak is also the other card that makes you very good at escaping on earlier levels. Already from level 1, you can move 7 in a turn and combine that with like a boot. You already can do 8 hexes of movement. For loss, that's fine, because most of the time when you're escaping, that is literally the last thing you're going to be doing. So I would say both top half and bottom half of the Power Leak, you want to be playing it for the fast rounds, and these are very effective actions to be doing. Experimental Adjustment is another reason why I like to take a Blinkblade into my higher level difficulty playthroughs. Again, because the fast side of the action is so good. So let's take a look at it. On the top half, you have Initiative 12, which is amazing. It beats the Archers. Algok's Archers, which is Initiative 14. It doesn't quite beat the Priest at Initiative 9, but sometimes it doesn't even matter, because for those initiatives, the priests are disarming or immobilizing you, and hey, you don't care about being disarmed, and you'll see in a perk later that you don't care about immobilize either. Experimental Adjustment, you take 2 damage, then you go invisible, and you do 1 damage to all enemies within range 2. This is the classic Blinkblade door opening card. On +3 difficulty, the danger is really the first room, because the enemies get to set up and burst you, and whenever you open a door where that situation repeats. And Experimental Adjustment is amazing, because you can run in and you can go invisible and you can do a little bit of chip damage. I mean, it's just just perfect. I don't think anybody else really, other than Geminate in the starting 6, has something similar where Geminate can jump in and disarm people. This will guarantee you a very safe door opening. And it combos into the fact that on +3 difficulty, the more turn you can waste for the enemy to do nothing, the better it is for you because how hard they hit. So a common strategy if you have a Blinkblade on your team is just to let the Blinkblade run in, open the door invisible. You guys will hang really, really far back and let enemy come through the Blinkblade into you. You have a similar strategy in Gloomhaven, of course, with a class like Scoundrel, but back then the invisibility actually blocked enemy from moving through, whereas Blinkblade won't. So the enemy can actually move through to you. You know, like with Algok's Archers, with Algok's Guard, you can just stand far back enough to let them come to you. Then you can all go slow and you can hit them. And it's very easy to communicate for this strategy to go off, because the Blinkblade can just say, I'm going fast, I'm going to go really, really fast, and you remember I'm going to play that invisible card where I'm going to go in, open the door, go invisible. You guys just hang back, go really, really slow, and let the enemy come to us. Very easy strategy to pull off and very effective on +3 difficulty. The slow side of this card allows you to immobilize a model. Situationally useful, I would say. The real reason for this is, one, it combos with another card you'll see in a second. Like immobilizing someone in range 2 is a little bit dangerous because even Algok's Guard has a 2 range attack. So, you know, if this was immobilizing from like 3 or 4 range away, definitely much more useful, I'd say. Within 2 range, if you're planning to do this, I would pair it with an even slower initiative card. So you're not going in to do that. It's kind of the last thing you do so that you start the next round knowing the enemy is going to be immobilized and muddled. Yeah. I have played it like maybe a couple of times in certain scenarios where, especially if you combine with a perk card that allows you to move right off the get-go when the scenario starts, you can get into the middle of enemy really slowly, immobilize and muddle people, and the next turn you can make a tactical decision about what to do. It definitely has its uses, but it's definitely not as powerful as the left side of the card here. On the bottom, move to loot 1. Hey, nothing to write home about, but it's a decent action. It's a filler action. Again, I'm probably not, most of the time, not really using the bottom half for that in particular. You can definitely play this with another card with temporal displacements. You can move to loot 1 and then move to loot 1 again, and then hey, everyone will hate you. It's not something I do very often. I mean, on 4 players, yes, there are plenty of loots to loot, but most of the time you actually want to spread your resources between the teams so everyone has a chance to craft rather than pick up everything. Not quite like Gloomhaven, where money equals better items all the time. You have a natural limit on your progression, so having more people geared up across the board is much better than having one person grabbing all the loot. But if you want to be a, selfish bastard, you have that option too. I find if you're gonna play the bottom half, the right side is typically better, because Blinkblade has the perk called Perpetual Motion, which allows you to ignore immobilize. This bottom side, once you've taken that perk, and you should definitely take that perk early, becomes a move for nothing on fast. On slow. Talking about making your slow turn counts, this will help you make your slow turn counts. Even for the benefit of that, I don't tend to play this card slow, just because the fast top left side quadrant of this card is so good. And it's not just opening doors, I would say. Like if you just want to go into the middle of enemies, like a common strategy can be you go fast with the top left side of this card, you run into the middle of enemies, and like, let's do an example. There are a lot of Algok's Guard sitting all around here, and you need to go in, right? So what you can do is you can just go fast, run in, go invisible. Yeah, sure, you take 2 damage, but everybody else takes 1. And the next turn, as long as if they just like move 2 forward, you can declare slow, and you can stab this guy a lot. And you have 2 rounds of invisibility, basically, allowing you to go deep inside behind enemy and stab people. It's very effective if you're stabbing like an archer that's sitting all the way far back and it's very difficult to reach for the team. Experimental Adjustment just has so many uses. play around with it. Invisibility is great. Blurry Jab is the final card. I would say you almost again exclusively want to play it on fast. Because the power level is so different, take both the top and bottom card. I think Blurry Jab maybe is a classic card to demonstrate the mechanic for the Blinkblade. On the left-hand side, top left-hand side, when you go fast, is initiative 20, attack 4, wound, EXP. It's basically attack 5 if you think about the wound ticking, and your initiative tends to be faster than enemies anyway. So it's basically saying you can do attack 5, or you can do attack 2 with Muddle. Like, the power level is so different. 3 damage is a lot of damage in Frosthaven. Yeah, I will say, again, your goal should be just like Power League and Experimental Adjustment. You want to be playing this card fast, not slow. Similarly, Blurry Jab, bottom, fast, is a 5 move. That covers a lot of ground. I don't think I really need to explain why move 5 is great. Most characters will kill to get a move 5, and Blinkblade can just easily access it at initiative 20. That's just crazy, I think. The slow side, hey, move 2, whatever, it's a basic move. You do 1 damage. Like if push comes to shove and you have to do this, okay, at least you're doing a damage, but hey, why aren't you doing a 5 damage attack at level 1? You should be doing that. And Blurry Jab, play on fast. All 3 of these cards play on fast. If you manage to play all 3 on fast effectively at level 1, hey, you're already doing really well as a Blinkblade. Next 3 cards, I classify them as please play them on slow. I think Drive Recharge is almost self-explanatory. Bottom right hand side of Self Recharge just says heal 2 regen at initiative 99. If you're a new player, you don't really understand why initiative 99 is great. Initiative 99 means you will always be the last person to act in this round. That means, you know, if you are, like I said earlier, going invisible with Experimental Adjustment and you do Drive Recharge as your next card to play on slow, you will not break your invisibility before the old enemy is acted. So that means you won't get hit, right? There are many situations where it's like that, where you are, you know, you want to go slow because you want an enemy to come to you for you to do something. Hey, Drive Recharge is your buddy. Even if you don't play it for the 2 heal and regen, you just play it as a move 2 just for an initiative. Drive Recharge is your buddy. I often take Drive Recharge earlier on in Blinkblade's life cycle just for the initiative 99 to guarantee, because I don't have enough hit point here to absorb that much damage. So I have less margin of error in terms of damage taking. Drive Recharge is your friend. Drive Recharge will guarantee, if you're in a position not to get hit, that you won't get hit next round. The top half, I play sometimes. I think I'm not, as a player, I've already said, I'm more of a conservative player. I tend not to be so explosive in my playstyle. So I do less of Drive Recharge top. Maybe I should do a little bit more. 2 time token is great, but I find once you get into the rhythm of managing the fast and slow flow of Blinkblade, you can be effective on both sides of fast and slow. You don't necessarily need always to be pumping yourself full of recharge tokens. Ward is nice, but you know, there are better ways of getting ward, and 1 bless is not going to really make that much difference. You really, if you're playing the top half of Drive Recharge, you're playing it for the time token. And yes, time token is powerful. But yeah, I don't know. I have played the Nova build before on +2 difficulty, not +3. It is very effective, so having tokens definitely useful, don't get me wrong. But on +3, I find more consistency longer term is better. Plus, it's a weird thing about Blinkblade where you kind of want to rest with your teammate. You know, like I guess it's a similar dilemma for everybody. Like if you're going for the explosive style of Blinkblade, one of the things I always find is you then start resting at a different cyclical frequency to the rest of your team. And actually on 4-player, you are more rewarded for resting with your team. Like for example, you clear the room in the first rest cycle. If you've already blown apart your cards earlier and you are now resting slightly earlier than the rest of your team, when all of your team are long resting, what are you doing? right? You don't want to be opening the door, and then you are forced to just do nothing. So I think that's the thing for me to play the burst style. The burst style is great, but it desyncs you from your like banner spear in terms of resting cycle, and you kind of want to be long resting at the same time. That's the only thing I'll find. But having said that, the burst style is great, and yeah, the 2-time token 100% has its uses. Most of the time, I think I just happy play drive recharge for the bottom half. Temporal displacement looks like a terrible card. I think the first time I saw it, I was like, yeah, initiative is okay, whatever. It's not going to be fast enough to do anything. It's not going to be slow enough to do anything. I don't care about loot action. Why would I want to bring this card? But this card, because Blinkblade has this perk called Test Start, and I think this is one of the first perks you should be picking up if you're playing the Blinkblade, allows you to move for 3 at the beginning of the scenario. This means you can move straight into the face of enemy most of the time. And what do you want to do when you're in front of the enemy? You want to stab this guy, right? And temporal displacement does that because it is the only bottom half attack you have at level 1. And that in itself is plenty valuable because of Head Start, you can just move in for 3, and then you just want to do some damage. And you can do like go slow, temporal displacement plus twin strike. That will mean the enemy would have acted already. Then you can go in with your Head Start, and you can just stab this guy 1, 2, 3 times. And that's a really good, very effective turn. It sets you up for the next 2 rounds because you have 2 fast tokens not to play. It's just amazing. Temporal displacement, I take this card purely just for that opening turn for Blinkblade. I just declare slow, I use my Head Start to move, then bam 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 and stab this guy 1, 2, 3 times with twin strike. It just feels good. It's a great start. If you got Poison Dagger, and I think the other starting item you absolutely should be taking is Poison Dagger. Right, Poison Dagger will mean this is attack 1 with poison, then attack 2 with poison, attack 3, basically, then attack 3. And that's a lot of damage. So yeah, temporal displacement I mainly take just for the bottom half. Top half loot action is okay, it's great. I don't really want to be playing on fast, to be honest. I think sacrificing a time token just to loot is it's a bit of a trolling combo with experimental adjustment, but it's not very efficient use of your turns. I almost never play this card fast on the top half. Mostly I'm just playing it for the bottom half on slow as the opening round, and then this typically becomes the first card I pitch on my first long rest. The +2 range attack is interesting. This is actually, like, I think a lot of new players don't really realize. On the fast side, this is actually attack 3, range 3, because it's +2 range to a 1 range attack effectively. So this actually gives you quite a bit of reach. Although, you know, very often if I'm going fast, I want to be doing something like, I don't know, power league with the movement to get me into a power league position. I don't really want to be, I think it's rare for me to be like next to an enemy already, so I can do something like blurry jab and power league. But then also don't want to focus down the enemy. I want to attack somebody else, because if you were to use this on fast against the enemy next to you, you get disadvantaged. It's okay sometimes to use it to finish off an enemy, but most of the time I think temporal displacement is a slow card for me. Which brings me to Twin Strike. Twin Strike is a bit of a funny card. On earlier levels, I like to play this card slow, because one, I never find this movement to be too useful, even on higher levels when I'm playing this on fast. And then earlier levels, you tend not to be facing that many pierced, shielded enemies just yet. Like Algok's Priest is probably the only one you're going to be fighting. And if you have a Drifter, like most other classes have some kind of way of dealing with Pierce, and you don't want to be the person that's doing just a move 3, Pierce 2, and then you're doing what, 1 attack at attack 4. I mean, that's good, but you're really going to benefit this later on when you can have access to other cards like Double Time, like Stab Them All, that gives you multiple top half attacks. Then you have multiple attacks that can benefit from the Pierce 2. So earlier on, I find this card is much better as a slow, and then later on, this card, the bottom left side of this card, becomes one of the key ways to deal with shielded enemies. But on slow, this card is amazing. Attack 1 followed by attack 2 is great, because you will be buying a poison dagger. And then bottom right hand side, hey, a move 1, heal 2. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it is just enough. Like I said, one thing about Blinkblade is just make your slow turn a little bit better, and that's good enough. You don't need to be a hero every single round. And this is one of the key ways I find of making your slow turns effective, is to either do the top half of Twin Strike or the bottom half of Twin Strike at earlier levels. Next 3 cards I think at earlier levels can be played for either fast or slow. Kinetic Transfer is a very interesting card because it changes the card's nature completely depending on which side you're playing. On the top left side, you have move 2, attack 2, push 3, generate fire, which your Gemini friend will appreciate. Push 3 is amazing. That's a lot of push. So if you need to push a single target, this is great. Fantastic. The other side of Kinetic Transfer turns the top half into a ranged attack. So this is a move 1, attack at range 2 for 2 generating ice. So it's actually quite interesting. Sometimes when you are not quite close enough to enemy at the beginning of the scenario, but you're not that far away, such that the move 3 from your head start won't quite get you to where you need to go, I actually find it's a great combo to combo Temporal Displacement with Kinetic Transfer on slow, because that gives you a move 4 that effectively will get you to where you should need to be to do this attack, and then you can also just use this attack maybe another enemy that's not quite next to you. So you can open the round with a slow and do a little bit of a chip damage. That's actually pretty good, pretty effective as a slow opening round for your Blinkblade. Be careful with the ice. I think there are more enemies in Frosthaven early on that thrives on having ice around, so generating ice can be sometimes a little bit iffy. But hey, just watch out for it if you're playing against like Ice Race or something. But otherwise, I think both the left and right side of the top side of Kinetic Transfer have their uses. The bottom side, I think, is what really makes Kinetic Transfer shine. Sometimes when you are on your slow turns, you struggle with movement, and Kinetic Transfer is one of the ways you deal with it. You can just do a move 3 when you're slow, and that's really good. When you're going fast, it allows you to damage everybody for 1. So on the fast side, I think that's most of the time I use that as a way to open door with a combo that with Experimental Adjustment. So you can run into a group of enemies, deal 1 to all of them with a very good movement, and then deal another 1 to all of them. So if you're chipping like 3 or 4 enemies for 2 damage each, that's 8 damage in the round you open door and all your allies are safe. I mean, that's a pretty good start. In some scenarios, I think Algok's Offensive is a pretty good example as one of the earlier scenarios. The ability for you to save up 2 time tokens to play Kinetic Transfer on fast, move 4, and then pitch a time token to push everyone for 3. Note that you don't have to do that on fast, but most often you probably are doing it on fast because you need the movement to get into somewhere to do this push. The fact that you can push everyone around you for 3, like in Algok's Offensive, that clears the path for the escape for the party, is amazing. In certain scenarios where the enemy is in a room with a lot of traps, just moving in, pushing everyone for 3, chucking 2 guys in some like 6 damage poison traps, amazing. So Kinetic Transfer is, I think, is a quiet MVP card at level 1 for the Blinkblade. Standing Hourglass, this is what I mean by the limited heal. I actually find the bottom half of this card to be really useful. Surprisingly so, because it is a heal to target all within range 1. So obviously you heal yourself, but you can also heal your party. On a 4-player game, if you have a Bone Shaper, right, like healing 2 is really good. And what you can do, especially with someone like Bone Shaper who wants to summon on the first round, damage himself, you can just go slow on the first round. You can be like, look, I'm going to go slow. I don't need to do my head start this round. I can just go slow behind my Drifter and my Bone Shaper. Let the enemy come. Let them hit the party. Then I'm going to just heal you up for 2 because everyone needs to prepare. Like Drifter needs to pull on some hats and gloves, and your Deathwalker needs to open the curtain, let out some shadows, and the Bone Shaper needs to put a skeleton out. Stand in the middle of them and just heal them up at the end of the first round after enemies hit them or they've damaged themselves somehow. Fantastic. The other thing to say about Standing Hourglass, you sometimes want to do this ability because, especially on the second rotation, you are going to have on the second rotation you're going to have 9 cards in your hand after a long rest, and then you're gonna have play like 2, 2, 2, 2, then you have like 1 card left, which is not very efficient. Standing Hourglass helps you by playing 3 cards in 1 round, and that's one of the funny mechanic for Blinkblade, which is you can play multiple cards in the same round, especially later on. So don't ignore this ability for Standing Hourglass. Play on the turns, especially early on. Remember what I said about earlier on at level 1. You just want to be very efficient and optimize more out of your turns. Then Standing Hourglass, playing 3 cards from your hand before your long rest is actually a pretty good deal to pick up. Top half of the card is one of the few ways, besides Twin Strike, which allows you to pierce shield, one of the few ways you can deal with shielded enemies and retaliating enemies. I don't really do this wound range 1 action very often. I think when you're going fast, there are better things to do. I mean, for example, if you're fighting retaliate enemy, I would rather use Kinetic Transfer and push the retaliate enemy out of the way, and I can draw attack at least, than just wounding them. I mean, technically, you wound them and they do take 2 damage immediately. They're probably going to take like 1 from your wound, then 2 from this, so that's 3 damage. But your attack modifier deck, as we shall see later, is so good. You want to be drawing from your attack modifier deck more often than not. So I don't often do this as a top half ability. But if you have some allies that can help you wound, like Deathwalker, this card becomes absolutely crazy. Like Banner Spear as well. Banner Spear, toss a firing pot into the enemy, wounds multiple enemies. Then you put this off on a slow turn. Watch all the enemies with wounds suffer too. You can do like 6 to 8 to 10 damage or something in a 4-player game. That's how you make your slow turn really, really effective. So Standing Hourglass, great card to, if your allies can set you up for it for the top half. Otherwise, play for the bottom and you'll be happy with it. Cascading Reaction is the final card I think you can play on slow or fast, depending on the situation. The bottom half is very valuable because, again, it gives you a move 3 on slow turn, and moving 3 on slow turn at level 1 is very, very good outcome. The fast side of this card makes it move 4, and the passive effect I think I've maybe triggered that once. It is interesting because the reason why this sounds very good on paper, especially with someone like Bone Shaper who has skeletons that needs to move. Basically, all that means is when they move past you, they get a boost, +1 boost to their move, which is very good. The only problem is Blinkblade often are not in the middle of the party. Blinkblade is either normally on the very front line or behind the front line. Like, see the horizon, beyond the horizon is typically where Blinkblade is situated. So I just find it's quite rare. Like every time I took this card, theoretically I'm like, okay, I can help my Bone Shaper with this, except if I'm playing it fast, I'm often going too fast, and I'm playing it normally for the move 4, so I want to get somewhere. And Bone Shaper's skeleton is just never going to catch up. Like, for this to work, you need to be after your movement, be in position for your allies to pass through. That's just really rare. So this is not really an escort card. It's just a move 4, I find, when you're playing it fast for the initiative and the movement. But hey, like I said, you can play it slow, and there's a pretty effective movement too. Top half of Cascading Reaction is pretty good. Pretty good, I would say. It's not something you probably want to do on the first rest cycle. It's probably something you do in the last room, but this is where your confidence need to come in. Like, you say, look, I'm going to just chuck this card. I'm confident in my ability to kill an enemy, and if I'm dead, I'm confident in my party's ability to carry on after me having done basically 8 damage to somebody, to 2 enemies probably. It's very good, but as you level up, this card's effectiveness will reduce over time, especially as you pick up better and better move card. And this top card, I mean, why would you do this when you can already do this at level 6? And that's not a loss. So yeah, later on, I think Cascading Reaction drops off. Whereas I would say most of these cards have covered. I mean, these two cards maybe drop off a little bit, but most of them all have their places well into some of the later levels. Cascading reactions, definitely one of them. So for me, when playing Blinkblade, these night cards are kind of like my core cards. Of course, I chop and change depending on the scenario. And speaking of chop and change, here are my 4 chop and change cards. So, Borrow Time, I would play this card mainly just for the initiative. In any scenario where you need to, like underspeed an archer, for example, currently you only have 1 card that allows you to do that. Borrow Time just gives you another way to do it. For me, all the other abilities and text on Borrow Time is almost just blank. I'm mostly playing it just for the initiative too. I mean, the top half allows you to immobilize something. I don't find that to be really useful, and especially is tied to your slow actions. Remember, it's not tied to being slow. It's not like you trigger it once. It's tied to your actions. It's your next 6 slow actions. So it's on your slow round. You trigger this. Yes, you get to ignore the slow effects, but is immobilizing? Do you really have that many enemies to immobilize? I think I've probably used this once ever in a game, and I think that's before I got really used to Blinkblade's mechanic. And I thought this was a good action. It turned out it was just like I'm just immobilizing the same person over and over again. So yeah, definitely bottom half I found to be more useful. And yes, technically within a 4-player party, this would be like a move 6 minimum, but taking a move of your allies feels bad. So most of the time, this is just a basic move to initiative 2. And that's perfectly fine. I don't think it's worthwhile to playing this on the bottom side. 1 move is not really good enough for you not to move. I think on the slow turns, you typically want to go really slow and get into position so you can do something on fast round the next turn. So this requires you not to move at all. Yeah, don't do that. They're much better to get into position and power leak next round. But yeah, bring this card absolutely for the initiative. I think Hit and Run is a funny one. There's a weird combo again with Head Start. I mean, Head Start just opens up so much possibility for you. You can definitely go slow and hit and run with temporal displacement. That you can stab this guy twice, immobilize. The next turn you can stab it really fast and run out. I've done that at earlier levels against something like a polar bear, for example. Earlier levels, polar bears are not immune to immobilize and they hit very, very hard. And this is one way for you to tell your team, hey, I'm going to take out that polar bear. I'm going to take out that lurker claw crusher so that they won't do anything next round with this immobilize. And that's amazing. Sometimes not so good against Algox guards because they have range attack, or they can just choose not to attack. Especially when they choose not to attack, they put up retaliate. Then if you did that, you'd be taking 4 damage. So I wouldn't recommend this for Algox guard, but like polar bear, lurker claw crushers are all very good example that you can use hit and run on the first round and disable somebody. Otherwise, I don't find it too useful. Again, I don't really want to play this ability when I'm fast. When I'm fast, I'm normally just really, really fast, so it's kind of counterproductive to be running in fast, immobilizing this guy, and then running out. Like that, yes, it does disable that person, but then you are skipping the potential to do like 8 damage or like 5 damage. You're just doing like 3 damage on your fast turn just to disable somebody. Yeah, leave that to the rest of your party who's better at doing it. Focus on doing damage on your fast turn, I say. So I get the idea of this card on the fast turn. It can be very effective. It's just not how I like to play my Blinkblade, I guess. So yeah, I think my Blinkblade cycles typically go slow first round, get in position, hit very hard, leave next round, then go slow again, let enemy come to me, then go in fast again, attack them a whole bunch. It's not really like I'm going to move in, attack, and then move out. I'd just rather be in position already to do a big powerful attack. So yeah, sometimes very useful I find hit and run to be on the first round, especially if you have head start as a perk. Otherwise, I don't take it that often. Bottom half again. Yeah, I don't find it too useful. If I want to run, I think there's a much better, more sustainable way of running with cards like Blurry Jab. Getting the extra move is great, but I think most of the time, your Blinkblade's party want to escape altogether. It's not just you. So the fact that this doesn't really help your party and you're already pretty good at running means I don't often want to chuck this card as a lost card. So yeah, sometimes I take hit and run for the top half. Very rarely do I take it for the bottom half. Sap speed is an interesting one. I think when I look at other people's guys online, I think a lot of people rate sap speed very high. I get it. On fast, this attacks 3 advantage attack. But what I find is sap speed is weird because if this was a later level card with maybe a bit more flashy damage or effect, I will actually enjoy this card a lot more because, like I said, strength and advantage is really, really good, but not that good at level 1. I think the class Blinkblade has this weird thing I talked about already, where at level 1 you're just like you're optimizing your mechanic, whereas at later levels you just go bananas with your attack modifier deck. Maybe we can take a quick look at attack modifier deck now. I mean, this is almost like a section to talk about it on its own. You take out so many of your negatives, and you have such a thin deck. 23 card stack, 5 rolling. You have a whole bunch of +2s like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 +2s. You only have the -1, which then you can take out with simple charm. I mean, your attack modifier deck is just so good. And you have 5 rollers, and they're amazing, and they can roll into each other. You can build up big attack. Having advantage is great, but it's just attack 3. Whereas later on, you have much better multi-target attacks that doesn't need them to be sitting next to each other, so it can be more flexible if you want to just attack one person. So yeah, I think all in all, my assessment of sap speed is at level 1, this card is not that impressive because your attack modifier deck's not that impressive. Even with advantage, it's just okay. Again, I'd rather just do 2 attacks for 4 or 1 attack for 5 than be constrained to attack 2 person that's next to each other. Like if you're just attacking 1 person with advantage, it's just like, okay, great. It's not. I'd rather do something else. And you can only do so many fast actions. I mean, with these 3 actions, you've already taken up 3 of your turns. There's only so many fast actions you can do, and I find consistently, sap speed just sits on the side and sapping on the side there. Bottom half, it's a bit weird. I find the bottom half immobilized is always a bit weird because presumably you need to be next to the enemy already. I'm sure you can definitely move in with a top half move like Twin Strike, but then you might be skipping an attack to do that. I think theoretically against sap speed is really good. It's just, you know, in practice is maybe less good. You can ignore the slow side of your other action this round. That's kind of good, so you can pair with like Blurry Jab, but that again requires you not to move. So I think both sides of sap speed has theoretical uses. If this was flipped, this was bottom, this was top, I think this card, funny enough, have way more uses. But as it stands, optional. Like if you are faced against a opening room with a lot of enemies, top half of sap speed can definitely do some work on round 1. And finally, we come to Overdrive. For me, Overdrive is a funny one. Overdrive is probably a card you play for very specific situations. Now, Shield 1 while slow is maybe contribute towards a slow blade build, though my understanding for that build is you're there to do some damage. There's a card later on that grants you extra damage if you're going slow. I don't think Shield 1 is really good enough for tanking on +3 difficulty. So maybe you're playing Overdrive just for the jump, because you don't currently have jump, and Overdrive makes all your move fast jump. And that's very good for escaping. Like if this was a move 7 jump or move 5 jump, it's just amazing. So I think Overdrive is definitely one of those situational cards you bring in if you need to jump through a scenario. Whilst the bottom half is one of the few ways you have to deal with retaliating enemies at level 1. So the bottom left side says all your attacks targeting enemies that have muddle are not affected by retaliate this round. So this is what I meant earlier with the top right hand side of experimental adjustment. You can definitely go slow, muddle somebody. The next turn you can open up with the bottom side of Overdrive and go in with an attack, and you can muddle them again if they've acted already. So overdrive is kind of a very clunky way for me in terms of dealing with retaliating enemies, and rarely I use it for the jump half of the card. So there's a quick run through of your level 1 card. I think level 1 is all about optimizing those slow turns and trying to do these things on the fast turns. So unlike my other videos, I'm actually gonna quickly cut here, and I'm gonna take a break and then come back to the other level cards. Alright, let us dive into cards 2 to 9. I think at level 2, most Blinkblade are faced with a pretty straightforward choice, which is Reckless Augmentation. It is a pretty good card. Initiative 10 is great. It will let you beat most of the enemies in Frosthaven. It's a pretty good attack, attack 5 with a little bit of Pierce. That little bit of Pierce is interesting, it's intriguing for me. It does act as somewhat of a shield breaker, but just a tiny bit. The damage itself is not too bad. The XP is obviously useful as you're leveling up. And the bottom half is pretty good too. A move 3 self-damage EXP with Ward. Ward is great. Just be careful that when you're using this, you're not also doing this immediately, because this self 2 damage will get rid of the Ward immediately. But otherwise, level 2 card Reckless Orc is a pretty straightforward, it's just a good card, and I think most Blinkblade will be taking this at this level. Now, having said that, when you start playing with Blinkblade at higher levels, the power level of Reckless Augmentation actually falls off quite a bit. The Ward is still useful, but move 3 is kind of like, it's not quite hitting the sweet spot when you're going fast. And then the attack on top. As Blinkblade, I find you want to do more attacks most of the time to abuse your powerful attack modifier deck, whereas this doesn't do it. This is just one draw, and if you're gonna do one draw, you might as well do a big attack, like, you know, Rush to the End, for example, would be a big attack. Like, it's not, how should I say, it's neither a many small attacks, nor is it big enough attack to really break someone's shield. Like, if you're using this at higher level against a shield 3 enemy, the shield 1 doesn't quite do it, and if you're combining this with Twin Strike to give you the extra Pierce, it's kind of a bad fast turn at higher level. You want to be doing more than just doing a single attack of 5. I know that's how powerful the Blinkblade is. Like, a single attack 5 is just not good enough at higher level. So I think as I got to higher and higher level, especially at level 9, I find this card to be less and less useful. But certainly at lower levels, yes, Reckless Orc is a fantastic pickup. Don't play this card for slow. I mean, it is technically attack 3 on slow, but like I said, you want to be using your other slow, how should I say, it's more like these cards are almost only good slow, so you only use the good slow card slow and the good fast card fast, and this is definitely a fast card. Now, I think if you are coming to Blinkblade at a higher level, like maybe this is not your first character you're playing, I think System Reboot is actually secretly a fantastic card. I think at earlier levels, recovering a lost card doesn't really mean anything, because let's face it, you only have a whole bunch of level 1 cards. But actually at higher levels, recovering one of your lost card is great. There are many things you could recover. For example, if you were to lose Reverse Flow for some reason, if you have played like Breakneck Speed and you want to play it again, for example, like these Blinkblade has some really powerful high level cards, like Quantum Uncertainty. If you lost it due to taking a damage and you just happen to have only this card in your hand, then you can get it back. I think the level, I would say the 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 cards for Blinkblade is all fantastic, and this act is a way to recover one of those, which is brilliant. It's actually amazing. It means that you can play like a lost card like Breakneck Speed early and then play it again potentially. Additionally, remember this is a recover. So yes, it is, you're trading like one card for one card basically, because this is a lost card. But if you played it on a rest cycle where you have odd number of cards in your hand, of course you can always pitch a time token and use Sending Hourglass to get rid of your extra hand card. But System Reboot actually allows you to do that as well, because when you recover a card, you put that straight back into your hand. So if you have only 9 cards left, and you have to play like a 2-2-2-2-1, if you play System Reboot, you can actually play another turn, which is really, really amazing. So I think if you come in at higher level, I actually would say you probably want to take System Reboot. It's a great card, just for the top half alone, because recovering one of your higher level card is just great. The bottom side is interesting. Again, I think at higher levels has more upside. As you get into higher and higher levels, if you get, like if you are level 1 Blinkblade and you get disarmed by the Argos Priest because they went faster than you, okay, yeah, it sucks. I mean, nobody likes to be disarmed, but it is just a disarm. I mean, realistically, what are you doing? The best case scenario would be like you do 8 damage. Best case scenario, most of the time you're probably doing like 4 damage, 5 damage. Okay, it's not that bad. But if you had set up a turn where you're gonna do like 20 plus damage and you get disarmed or stunned or somehow that you're not able to do that, or even like impaired so that you can't use your power potions, I mean, that really sucks. System Reboot gives you a guaranteed way to get rid of those negative conditions. You know, if you have, like, if you're impaired and you can't use your power potions, System Reboot, drink your power potion, go nuts. If you're disarmed, System Reboot, it allows you to play with a greater margin of error, I find. Whereas Reckless Orc drops off on both the top and the bottom side. System Reboot, if you're not coming at level 2, I think secretly is a very good card. I did say about Slow Blade build, this is I think also a Slow Blade build because it allows you to trigger your fast effect instead of the slow effect when you play the bottom half System Reboot on slow. So, you know, you could play System Reboot and still do Power Leak and still do your attacks, even though you're just going slow. I think probably earlier level Blinkblade, even if you want to go for the Slow Blade build, you're probably not starting Slow Blade immediately, but if you do want to continue down the Slow Blade path in the future, System Reboot is definitely a Slow Blade build card. Like I said earlier, I've never played Slow Blade myself, so it's hard for me to judge how good it is on +3 difficulty. I can't imagine it to be that amazing, given how good the fast side of the cards are. I think it's probably like one of those drifter range build thing. You probably could do it later on, and it might be effective, but you probably don't want to do it off the get-go. But yeah, System Reboot, I think, silently a very, very good card. But if you're just leveling through the levels like you would with a starting character, you're probably taking Reckless Augmentation just to be more effective. Now, level 3. I think level 3 both cards are fantastic. And level 3 is giving you the first piece of the crazy Blinkblade build. My personal opinion on the crazy Blinkblade build is, like I said, I've played it on +2 difficulty. It is very effective. The downside, as I've mentioned, desyncing yourself from the teammate's rest cycle. Also, I find it is more of a high risk, high reward play. In my most recent playthrough, I did not play the what's called the Nova build online. This one, the one build where you just go absolutely bananas, and I'll show you the combo in a bit. And I found the steady as you go build to be very good as well. So I don't know. I'm kind of slightly biased, maybe, given I'm more of a conservative player, and I prefer the steady as you build, a steady as you play type of build. So yeah, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I mean, the Nova build is so powerful. But I do think for most cases, the steady as you go build is probably gonna be more consistent on +3 difficulty, just because the monsters can do some pretty crazy stuff. Like, you know, the shield value can be absolutely crazy, combined with a high HP value. Like, even if you were to burst, you might not be able to burst down everything you wanted to burst down in one round. Whereas, like, just consistently dishing out damage, being there for your teammate. And plus, if you're playing a 4-player game, I mean, do you really want to exit the game maybe like an hour in and wait and watch your teammate does the rest of it? Probably not that fun. So I actually think, I don't know, I guess I'm just biased, but yeah. Double Time gives you that first piece of the puzzle, which on the bottom half allows you to trigger your fast effect twice on your next 3 turns. Notice 3 turns, so it's basically like your turn, And because it's a whole turn, all fast effect is triggered twice. It's not just one action or two action. So yeah, it's pretty powerful. Although at this level, you probably don't have too many things you want to trigger twice. I mean, triggering Reckless Orc will give you extra 2 damage and a pierce, but then you also damage yourself twice. At level 3, you don't have a lot of HP. I found like double time bottom half is more of a piece for later on in the game, but not so much at this level because there's not many things you want to trigger twice. Note, Power Leak cannot be triggered twice because once you gain the first target, you already have poison, so you can't really gain the second target. Third target I should say. And you know, triggering things like Twin Strike will give you extra pierce too, but yeah, it's okay. This will give you extra range, so push 6. I mean, it has some side benefit, but it doesn't do as much as you think it would do. Sap Speed does give it extra plus attack, so maybe that's kind of nice. Make this basically into a pretty powerful Power League, so there's definitely a combo there. But I find at level 3 there just isn't a consistent number of, like, this is 3 consecutive fast turns, right? I just don't find I have 3 fast turns where I have 6 actions that's worth doubling at level 3. But having said that, double time is still good. It is kind of like a weird Twin Strike because this is attack 3, attack 2, attack 3, attack 2. Other than the fact that when you go slow, you only lose 1 damage, not 2. And you have the move 2 at the end of it. The fact that you have the move 2 at the end of it, I actually find is more useful than Twin Strike. Most of the time with the Twin Strike, I just want to attack one target anyway. And then maybe I want to finish attacking it, move off it, or move off it to loot. Maybe I killed it, I want to loot it. The middle move action I find is much less useful than just attack, then bottom move. It's surprising how much difference that makes, I want. And it's interesting, I wonder if this move had happened before it, double time might be even better. Like you can move in with it, then attack. So it's kind of interesting how the move location, even though it's just the same ability, really changes your evaluation of the card. Most of the time I find double time to be more valuable on top, and I find double time to work just as well slow because you're only losing 1 damage. A double attack 2 doesn't sound amazing, but your attack modifier deck is so bananas. The top half is definitely like a contender for a slow card. So yeah, double time is just great, and I will pick it every time, all the time, anytime, and it slots into both fast and slow side. Now, make a count. I'm actually quite particular about make a count. I think a lot of people don't like make a count, maybe as much as I do. Maybe that's because I play on 4 players plus 3 difficulty, I don't know. I find the top half of make a count to be a very good filler action for a slow turn. If you're not going for the crazy Nova build, which at this level you can't anyway, there are a lot of dead turns in between rooms where Blinkblade often has nothing to do. So if I think about what cards you can realistically do in between rooms at this level, you can give yourself a ward, I suppose. You can give yourself a regen, but then you're not moving. You can give the team a bit of heal if you all bunch up, but then again, you're not moving. I mean, sure, you can move on top, but in between rooms, I like to just go slow anyway and build up my time token. I probably have used both of them up to kill enemies in the room already. So yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do this, but I'm not moving. Whereas make a count means you can move on the bottom half and then heal 1 for 3 targets, including yourself, of course. But heal 1 with 3 targets is actually quite good. You can coordinate with your team just to clear off the poison, right? Like if you have a drifter who wants to do a continuous health heal 4 of some kind, but it's being blocked by poison, and it feels bad for the drifter to waste a charge just to remove poison, now you have an option, right? Blinkblade can come in and heal you. The Blessed Self, I mean, yeah, you might draw it, you might not draw it, but it's actually, it feels good to do this. I don't know. I just feel good to do make a count, and I like doing the top half of make a count. I don't do it on fast. I mean, yeah, sure, on fast it becomes a heal 2 target, 3 hit points at 2 range plus EXP, and heal 6 is kind of a good action. But Blinkblade is not a dedicated healer, and healing a lot is not something I want to do fast. This is more of an in-between room action, and in-between room, like I said, I want to build up time tokens. So make a count for me is a perfectly good slow turn action. And yeah, I like that. I don't know. For me, Blinkblade is all about optimizing your slow turns to make them as effective as your fast turn, because I think as you level up, your fast turns kind of take care of themselves. You know, you just have good actions to play, and as long as you're in the right position, you can do it, and it gets easier and easier for you to get into the right position, but because your movement gets crazier and crazier because you have top move and you have crazy bottom move. And like I said when I talked about retreat, Blinkblade just has some great movement cards. Not only that, you also have teleportation, so you have many ways to find yourself, to put yourself in the right position very easily. So positioning becomes less and less difficult as time goes by, and then with positioning and with the great initiative, you can almost guarantee to execute at higher levels what you want to do on fast turns. But what about the slow turns? And make it count for me is what makes slow turns count. Not only is the top action quite good, I find the bottom action of make it count to be quite good. In some sense, it is kind of like temporal displacement for me, just better. You have even slower initiative on slow, so you can even more likely to go behind the enemy if you play make it count as your opening move. You have attack 2, but now you have muddle with it. What's not to like? For me, once I get to this level, I find myself starting to maybe drop off on temporal displacement. Make it count is almost like a replacement for temporal displacement. It's literally displaced temporal displacement for me. Not only is the top half more of a valuable action, the bottom half is just a little bit better. And if you want to go fast with this, good on you. The move 2 is great because you can do like a move 2, attack somebody, then attack somebody. And if you did what I did on my most recent playthrough and not pick any of the level 4 cards and pick up double time, you can do move 2, attack 2, wound, attack 3, attack 2, and the move 2, move out. These two cards actually combo off each other just wonderfully. And yeah, don't ignore the wound. The wound is great, and don't ignore the muddle, because on a slow turn, if you can do a bottom half attack 2 muddle, that's a great setup. And they naturally set up for the next turn as well, I find. Often I would go slow, attack somebody, muddle it. Next turn, if I don't beat enemy's initiative, at least enemy's muddled. I'm not going to take crit to the face, and I'm not going to die. So yeah, I say both cards are well worth for picking up, and you should definitely try experimenting with both. On to level 4. So for me, I think level 4 precision timing is probably the slow blade go-to card. Getting extra damage while slow is amazing, and is well worth playing a loss just for that. Again, I haven't played slow blade. I don't really know how good the slow blade is, but I can imagine this the key component at this level to start enabling the slow blade to go a bit crazy. I can imagine, for example, like with the +1, with then system reboot bottom, allowing to play something like power leak at, you know, attack 5. Remember, this is all your attacks, so it's not like some of the other characters' abilities that applies to one attack. Like in particular, I'm thinking about like Coral, for example. Like there's this ability that only allows you to put one attack per turn. This is not one attack per turn. This is one attack to all your attacks. So if you were to do like Power League, this would be double attack 5 with system reboot and this on a slow round. That's, I mean, theoretically I think that's amazing. I haven't tried it, but that sounds pretty good to me. You know, your Twin Strike no longer is penalized because +1 attack just means this is attack 2 and attack 3, even if you're slow. Sounds great to me. Double time becomes, you know, attack 3, so it's even better on slow. Maybe I should go and play another campaign with Slowblade and see what happens. I don't know. It sounds great, but I think the only thing maybe against Slowblade is initiative. I don't know. But yeah, precision timing is great if you're going Slowblade. I like the bottom half of precision timing too. I just wish it wasn't tied to a card that I find is only useful if you're playing Slowblade. Because you don't want to play a lost card if you're not really going to take advantage of it all the time, because you only have 10 cards. So I end up not taking precision timing as much as I want to. I think theoretically bottom half precision blade is just good. Like if you like make it count, why wouldn't you like move, attack, move? The only thing about this card is the attack is only on the fast side. I think if like the move was only on the fast side and the attack's on the slow side, or just normal attack. I don't know. I might consider taking it more. I think the fact that this you're forced to play this card fast is what I don't like about it. And I already have enough move. It's not like Blinkblade doesn't have loads of other move cards. You know, already you have access at level 1 to like a move 5, and you have plenty of options for move 4s. It's not like I really lack movement. I mean, the move attack move is great, and I understand you can move in, attack something, then move out. But there's so many ways for you to combo into that. I often don't like taking precision timing just because I don't get to play with the top half, and if I'm only taking for the bottom half, I think I'd rather take make a count personally. I don't know. Again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just more conservative. But I just find make a count to always be satisfying to play. Whereas every time I pick precision timing, there are just times I don't want to do the attack on fast because I don't want to go fast. And if I'm only going slow, I'm kind of just moving 3. So it's kind of just cascading reaction bottom side with a little bit more of effort. So yeah, I don't feel like I enjoy spending my level 4 level up on a card like this. Potential Energy, funnily enough, I think is also a slow blade card because attack X+2 where X is number of slow of time tokens you have. If you're a slow blade, you'll be just going slow all the time, presumably. So you're gonna have like 4. This is just attack 4 with precision timing. It'll be just attack 5. So this almost feels like a slow blade card, which is interesting. If you're going, obviously you can still get that effect. You just need to have 1 time token, then you declare slow, and this is attack 4. But it is just an attack 4. It's just not interesting enough for me to take this. Whereas you can already do like, even this is just attack 3, and you don't have any condition for it. I don't know. I just don't find Potential Energy interesting. Maybe it's just me. I find the bottom half attack on Make a Count more interesting. And actually, you can also just take Make a Count with Temporal Displacement. You can take both of them, and then it will give you 2 rounds of double bottom attack, double top attack. You can do Twin Strike, Temporal Displacement, then double time Make a Count, right? You can start your round next to an enemy. Really, you can go in slow, maybe with head start, do this, then do this. So you've done like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attacks in 2 rounds. That's a pretty good combo to me. Whereas, and the fact that you get to draw 6 times from your modifier deck, you have like +2 regens, you have rolling +2s, you have wound, you have immobilize, you can gain time token. There's so many things you want to get out of your deck. And your deck is small enough for you to be able to fish them out consistently. Because your effective deck size is only actually, right, 23 minus 5. Technically, it's only 18. And if you use Simple Charm to take this out, then your effective deck size is only 17. There's so many good cards to roll into, you just want to do many, many attacks, I find. So I don't find the top half of Potential Energy too interesting. Again, the bottom half, it's just a move 4, unless you have loads of more tokens. So, I don't know. I don't find this card very interesting. I've never really played with this card either, I guess. But, yeah. In my latest playthrough at level 3, I took both. I think both just allows me to play more independently, but have a slightly more team interaction as well with Make a Count to, I don't know, make it feel good. Maybe you're playing 2 players, you might prefer the Potential Energy card. Okay, on to level 5. Now, level 5 for me is a really big headache because both cards are so good. Breakneck Speed, I think, goes without explanation why it is good. If you read it, it says on the at the start of the next 4 rounds, when you're not long resting, you can take 2 damage and play 3 cards. That is right, play 3 cards instead of 2. I mean, Blinkblade is already a busted class, I find. The fact that you can play 3 cards instead of 2, oh my god. This, I think, is when, if you picked this card at level 5 and you combine with, I mean, you don't even need to combine with double time, to be honest, but you can. That's the funny thing. You can combine with double time and then trigger you can play 3 cards for 4 rounds. And if you're going fast, every single one of your card is doubling twice for the next 3 of the 4 rounds. It's mind-blowing how how crazy that combo is if you've never tried it. I'll show you an example in a second. But the combo is just, combo potential is crazy. And not only that, it is initiative 3 if you're playing it fast for teleport 5 with no downside, which is like if you're not playing breakneck speed top, which if you're doing it, I'm hoping you're doing it on slow for the setup, so you have plenty of time tokens to use. Even if you're not doing this, this is just a teleport 5. I mean, teleport is amazing because it goes through rooms. You can be immobilized and still teleport. At initiative 3, this is what I mean earlier about saying I don't find the bottom side of precision timing too interesting, because next level you pick up basically ability to go wherever you want. You know, you ignore difficult terrain. Like I said earlier, do I even need to jump if I have teleport? Or I can just run rings around the enemy. So yeah, breakneck speed, both top and bottom, is amazing. 2 damage is, well, just coordinate with the team, get a bit of healing. You'll be fine. So yeah, I've definitely played with this card, and this card is bananas. I don't think I have enough time to explain how crazy this card is. Flashing Flurry is what I picked in my most recent playthrough, because I wanted to play a Blinkblade with a bit more versatility. And one of the problem with Blinkblade is you can only do melee attack, right? So up to this level, other than kinetic transfer, which gives you a top half very okay-ish range attack if you're going slow for slow purposes. You know, for slow criteria, a little bit of move with an attack is reasonable. The other real range attack you have is here, is attack 3, range 3 bottom. Like nothing exciting here. Blinkblade strength is attack modifier deck, and being able to do 2 attacks, meaning drawing 2 attack modifier cards, is actually more amazing than you think it is. Because if you are rolling into like a +2 and then a +1, this will be an attack of 6 already, right? So the subtle difference between this and this is just attack 4 and melee. Whereas this on fast is typically attack 4, because you typically can set up element. I mean, Blinkblade can just do everything. You can even set up your own element by doing Twin Strike the turn before. Bottom side will give you Earth. I find this to be a very good setup, because most monsters in Frosthaven don't take Earth. So you can go like slow, heal yourself, get Earth out, and the next turn go straight into Flashing Flurry. On fast, you probably pair with another card to give really fast. You can take the element off. Similarly, kinetic transfer will give you element. There's surprisingly number of ways you could set up your own element for this card to go off just without anybody else helping. And if you have on a 4-player party, you typically will have at least one other player who can generate element. Just a little bit of coordination will work. And the fact that this takes any element, which means you can go fast and take over element from an enemy. You know, you can stop the Wind Demon from going invisible. You can stop the Chaos Demon from baning you. It's just amazing. So actually, I played in my latest playthrough with Flashing Flurry, and I love this card. The fact that this is most of the time attack for 2 targets at ranged. You draw your modifier, becomes like attack 6 and attack 7. You can take element off the table. You can do range attack, which means you don't have to take up a valuable melee space all the time. Flashing Flurry, MVP, but you only ever want to play this card on fast, for sure. You do not want to do the slow side. In fact, I'm not even going to explain why the slow side is bad. It's basically sap speed. If you're playing a sap speed at level 5, it's just not good enough. I think the other thing I would say is this card pairs really, really well, because sometimes, right, one of the Blinkblade's biggest weakness is retaliate and shield, and God forbid you're fighting a shielded retaliating enemy. Flashing Flurry is your friend, because all the other tags, you're going to have to take retaliate damage, and there's very little way for you to deal with that. So far, all we've seen is you can push them for attack 2. You can send in Hourglass them, assuming you've wounded them or someone else has wounded them. You can bottom half of Kinetic Transfer to do 1 damage. You can bottom half of Blurry Jab to do 1 damage. You can top up Experimental to do 1 damage. Or you can wait for this Overdrive setup, which requires you to be in position to start off with. So you have to be next to an enemy to meet and then trigger this. It's just a lot of if and buts, and I need to do that, I need to do this. A lot of excuses for Blinkblade not to really do anything to the retaliating enemy. Well, with Flashing Flurry, you can attack 2 of them and not get retaliated. So, you know, again, something like Flaming Blade Spinner, Flashing Flurry is fantastic. It's amazing. I love it. The only downside is any melee improvement item like Poison Dagger, you can't really apply to it because this is a range attack and fast, but who cares? Double attack against some of the weakest, the enemies you're weakest against is great. And then you can pair this with Twin Strike bottom half to give you the Pierce 2. Mwah. Any shielded retaliating enemies, my Blinkblade is ready for them. So I think for me, breakneck speed is what makes the strongest part of Blinkblade even stronger. Whereas Flashing Flurry is sort of optimizing the weaker part of Blinkblade and making it better. I think that's the real choice. So yeah, I think both cards are very valid. If you are taking breakneck speed, please take also double time at level 3. Because later on when you can combine this with this, you can go absolutely crazy. But Flashing Flurry I think is just a workhorse card. It's not as flashy as breakneck speed, but experiment with it. It's actually really good. The bottom half allows you to stun enemies with it next to you and get a 1-time token for each enemy targeted. This is a good way to help complete one of your mastery, which requires you to declare 7 fast rounds in a row. So if you know, first round you can like start into some enemy, stun them, grab a whole bunch of time tokens, then just play fast of 7 rounds in a row, then you've done your mastery. It's a definitely valid strategy for a scenario that goes by really quickly maybe. So like a survive X number of round scenario. This is a pretty good opener, like stunning 3 enemies is a great, grabbing 3 time tokens plus your 2 will put you on 5. Maybe you can like drive recharge top half, that will give you immediately a 7 tokens to play for the next 7 rounds. So it's, you know, pretty good, but it's not action you'll be doing too often. Again, pitching, it's like emergency break glass moment if you're doing this. I don't want to be throwing away too many of my cards if I only have 10 cards to play and they're all really fun to play with. Okay, level 6. Now, I think level 6, for me, there's only really one choice, and that is stab them all. I get why the knife's edge is here, and it is good. I don't like the fact that you have to suffer damage for it, but on the face of it, you might think the knife's edge and stab them all is kind of similar, right? Maybe knife's edge is even slightly better. Like if you have 3 enemies next to you, attack 3, wound 3, and the next round you can combine with something like sending an hourglass and do like 6 damage to them. Yeah, it's really good. It's just for me the potential. I mean, you're probably noticing I'm focusing more on the top half of the cards for Blinkblade because Blinkblade is primarily an attacker, but the potential stab them all kind of cheap for you versus knife's edge for me is no comparison, because if you've taken stab them all is a card that's not inhibited by you going slow, because when you go slow you have just as much DPS with stab them all, whereas the knife's edge when you're going slow is actually just a horrible card. Like attack 3, wound, damage self 1 is just not an option. So for me, stab them all is a card that's so versatile and so good. For me, it goes over knife's edge 100%. And on top of that, as you shall see later, it combos really well with breakneck speed, combos really well with double time in the Nova build. So for me, stab them all is my guaranteed pickup, and once I have stabbed them all, I don't mind going slow at all. In fact, sometimes I prefer to go slow to save my time token for something else, because when you're going slow, you can just move up with a card like, I don't know, like Kinetic Transfer. You can just move up to enemy, move 3, and stab them 3 times, getting XP. At initiative 34. 34 is not a bad initiative. You know, most like Bone Shaper will be very happy to go at 34. I find like with stab them all, you can consistently still outpace the enemy at that initiative. That's how crazy the initiative is on this card. And if you're going at 4, yeah, you 100% you'll be the first one to go. So I think the top half of Knife's Edge and Stab Them All on first reading may seem like it's comparable, but when you test it, I think it's not comparable at all. I think Stab Them All has way more flexibility. The fact that it makes your slow turn better, the fact that you can play fast or slow, the fact that you can turn into a single target damage, where this is multiple target damage, this is single target damage. You know, combine this with like Twin Strike, goodbye shielded enemies, do this into an Algox Guard, see them melt because your attack modifier deck is so crazy. I think anytime you're doing many small attacks against a single target enemy on Blinkblade, it's just so much more satisfying than it would on any other class, and the initiative on this card is great. Bottom side of Knife's Edge, again, I probably don't want to be playing this action round fast, just for heal 4 self. It's okay. I actually prefer, you know, through my experience, I actually preferred playing Standing Hourglass bottom, to be honest, most of the time on a 4-player game, just because if I'm healing in between rooms, most likely all my teammates needs healing. I think this is probably more designed if you are the main tank for your group, because you don't have like a Drifter or Banner Spear in the starting party, and you need to be tanking, and then the heal 4 kind of comes in more often. But for me, the bottom half is okay. It's just not it's not that great. Stab Them All, on the other hand, I think the bottom half is some quirky usages. So the bottom half basically reads, when the enemy comes to you, after their move ability, you get to stab them. It doesn't happen that often, actually. It doesn't happen, yeah. I try to make it work sometimes, but because the top half of Stab Them All is just so good, yeah, I don't often find I'm using it for the bottom half. Sometimes in between rooms, I use the bottom half to grant myself a ward, because I don't want to go fast with Reckless Orc to give myself the ward. I want to save my time token. And then I sometimes use Stab Them All for the ward. But yeah, most of them Stab Them All. It's just the top half of the card, and it's great. It's just good enough. There's nothing else to say about it. Okay, on to level 7. Level 7 is 2 interesting cards. Traditionally, I've always taken Phasing Blades, because I always feel like Blinkblade really struggles with shielded enemies. And Phasing Blade, right, deploy round 1. So round 1, you can go like head start, deploy Phasing Blade, and then stab somebody for 2 with Pier 3 model. That seems like a pretty good opener. Most of the time, I've just taken Phasing Blade as a sideboard card. Like if I'm going into a scenario with like Living Spirit or something, I'm like, okay, well, all my little attacks do nothing. Let's just grab Phasing Blade and deploy it first round, and then go nuts. And that's often been good enough. I rarely bring Phasing Blade in for the bottom side of the card. You know, I think it has its uses, like adjacent to 3 or more enemies, getting 1 time token. On 4 players, it does happen, but it doesn't happen as much as you think it does. And you know, it kind of, I think if this was 2 enemies, I would bring it in, because then that's a guaranteed time token. The fact that this is not a guaranteed time token most of the time, so yeah, for me, Phasing Blade, I take it most of the time, but I just take it as a sideboard card. And the funny thing is, until the most recent playthrough, I never really thought too much about Rush to the End, because I'm always like, look, I'm the damage dealer. I need to be able to do damage in all circumstances, and Phasing Blade just guarantees me that. Right? So I never really thought about Rush to the End. And once you get to level 8 and 9, you just got better cards you want to pick anyway. So I've always just skipped Rush to the End. But recently I played with Rush to the End. And Rush to the End is great. It's amazing. Right? Let's talk about the bottom side first. No, most cards I'm talking about the top, but this one I'm going to talk about the bottom first. The bottom is so good. I never really thought about this, but granting an ally within range 2 to move 6 is amazing. Like, because when I talk about Banner Spear, right, I really like the fact that Banner Spear can move allies, and it's really good for escorting scenarios. I never really thought about Blinkblade being an escorter, but then actually if you think about it, Rush to the End is absolutely that card, because Blinkblade has so much movement. You can absolutely be anywhere you want. Like for Banner Spear, to be within an ally within range 2, is sometimes quite a bit of work. But for Blinkblade, it really isn't, because you have top moves. You have top moves in double time, you have top moves in stab them all, you have top moves in twin strike. You can't always just move 2 or 4 with your top move to get to the ally. Or you have crazy bottom moves. You have like move 5s, so you can get there the round before. You have move 4s easily in your cards. You can teleport. You can get behind the enemies to where your ally, where your NPC ally needs to be, where your VIP needs to be. And the next turn, you can just move them for 6 or 4, up to you. But like if you're doing an escort mission, moving an ally for 6 is huge, absolutely huge. I played with this card recently in my playthrough, and there are so many missions where I'm like, wow, I have new ways of escorting the ally VIP now because of Blinkblade. And Blinkblade can get to wherever it wants to be most of the time anyway. So this is almost like a guaranteed move 6 most of the time. And in fact, I think for one of the missions I did a relay race between Bannerspear and Blinkblade, and the VIP just like zoomed across the room. And not only do you move the ally, you get to move as well. Wow. This bottom half is way more powerful than I first thought it would be, and my experience definitely taught me a valuable lesson about ally ground move. It's so good. Putting the VIP aside, the fact that you can grant your Deathwalker, who doesn't like to move very much, a move of 6 potentially to catch up with the rest of the party, and then you can then go for like maybe 2 plus your boost 3 and cover half the distance. The next turn you can catch up. Wow, it's just so good. You know, like you remember, a grant ally move can open doors. You can grant your big quarrel, like a big move into opening a door, and then you can follow after them. And then you still have the other card to play on your turn. You can. It's the versatility of Rush to the End is so amazing that I actually think I rate it higher than Facing Blades now that I've played with it more. Not only that, the top half of Rush to the End is amazing. This is actually a card I would say you exclusively play on slow, and probably you play as the last thing you do before your long rest, because you probably at that point will have you would go slow, so you have at least 1 time token. So this is at least an attack 7. So already I think it's better than Potential Energy by a long shot. Not only that, if you have 2 time tokens and you go into a long rest, you can pitch both of them to make this attack 10. And your attack modifier deck is so good, you hit a crit with this, you are doing 20. Even if you don't hit that, you just hit a +2, that's attack 12. And that's crazy good. Crazy good. If you do build up loads of time tokens, spend them all. Go nuts. Wow. I am very impressed by Rush to the End. I would say I would recommend this now over Facing Blades, because who cares about piercing shields, right? Leave that to your friends. Use Twin Strike, and then just do a big wallop with Rush to the End. You didn't even have to lose a card to reduce your stamina, and you can do that again. Fantastic. So yeah, I think traditionally I pick Facing Blades to compensate weakness. I think Rush to the End more than compensate for the Pierce 3, I find, most of the time in a 4-player game. And the bottom side has so much upside. Again, I guess maybe it's around the same vein as Make It Count, right? I'm picking cards that is not the traditional role for Blinkblade to do, but gives you more expansive tactical options within a 4-player setting. It's great. I love it. Okay, level 8 and 9. Again, most Blinkblade probably don't get to this level. I find it's quite rare for a starting character to get to 8 and 9, even on +3 difficulty. Most of the time, you've just retired by now. I think for me, at level 8, Quantum Certainty is just the guaranteed pick here, because Invisibility is already pretty crazy as a condition that you're able to apply. The fact that you can apply it twice within 1 rest cycle, you know, like you can do 1 turn experimental adjustment, next turn you go slow, so you don't get attack, then next turn you go fast with Quantum Uncertainty, then next turn you go slow. You can do 4 rounds of guaranteed no one's gonna hit you. I mean, not only is good for your mastery, it's just good for surviving. It's actually kind of crazy how good that your Blinkblade gets to at just weaving in and out of the enemy groups without getting hit ever once. Once you pick up Quantum Certainty, it's great. And then if you're not doing that, if you just don't do raw damage, well, how can you be doing any better than just strengthening yourself on your turn? Because it lasts 2 rounds, you get it on your round and the next round, you can dish out so much damage. Like with this and that, oh my god, the amount of damage you can put out is so crazy with Strengthen. You know, strengthening into Flashing Flurry, strengthening into Stab them all, strengthening into Rush to the End. So many combos. This card is great. The top, even though the top is actually not bad. It's kind of weird. It's not bad. It's just at this level, the invisibility and strengthen is such crazy busted condition you can apply to Blinkblade. You're almost certainly not going to be playing this card for the top. Fastest Alive, I like the Initiative 1. I like the thematic build. I just think it's a little bit too much of hard work to get the benefit. So it's a 3 target attack 2 with Muddle. So it's not very impressive. You do get a +2 to the attack if you're targeting enemies that have immobilized, stun, or who are not moving, which is actually more enemy than you think. But I think because you are not naturally applying Immobilize, like that will require you to be taking something like Sap Speed, bottom half. I don't know. It just doesn't happen as often as you think it would. So yeah. I don't know. I've played it before and I wasn't too impressed by it. Every time I think the one time I picked Fastest Alive, I'm definitely regretting not picking up Quantum Uncertainty. I mean, the movement's fantastic, don't get me wrong, but at this point in time, you have so many good movements, right? You've got Teleport, you've got top moves, you've got bottom moves, you've got just moves everywhere. Like move 8 doesn't actually, surprising, like move 8 is actually not that impressive to me anymore. Like move 8 at level 1, how can that not be good, you think? It is really good, it's just strengthen and invisibility onto a class that likes to do many small attacks. Yeah, Quantum Certainty hands down for me. There's an honorable mention for Fastest Alive in the Nova combo piece, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I find Quantum Certainty just gets you the value most of the time, all the time. Now at level 9, both of these cards are great. Unlike the last 2 levels, which I heavily favored one card, level 9 I think both cards are great. Again, traditionally, the first time I played Blinkblade, I took Reverse the Flow because I'm like, I don't think I want to summon anybody because I don't have any way of interacting with the summon, which I was wrong because I did not take Rush to the End. You actually do have a way to interact with your summon. I'm just like, I don't really have any ways to interact with my summon. Why wouldn't I just play this crazy card which allows me to use all my move ability as my attack ability for this round, and then I get to play a card from a discard pile for the bottom action of the card? I mean, that sounds just insane, no? So yeah, I just picked this up and I was happy with it, and maybe this is time to talk about what I like to say the Jack the Ripper combo build that you can do now that you have all your pieces together. So this is where you play double time and breakneck speed top half, probably the round before. So now your fast triggers twice, and now you can play 3 cards. And you can play like this card, this card, then these cards. So you know, you can play 3 cards, then you can play another card from your discard. I mean, that could be anything. Let's just say, I mean, I should probably do that, but because both of these, you know, I should probably do this instead of Twin Strike, let's say. So what does that look like? I mean, it's probably not even 46 anymore, but we can count it together how much damage you can do, right? So all your moves are attack abilities. So this is attack 2. This will be attack. And then let's say you are using Rough Boots, which is a very easy item to get, and Power Potion. So this becomes attack 3 because of Power Potion. Then this attack 2 is attack 4. and then it triggers again because you got double time, and then this is attack 3, and then this is attack 4, and then attack 4 again, and then this is attack 2, and then this is attack 4, and then this is attack 3, and this is attack 4 on fast, and then this is attack of 6 plus 2 plus 2. Oh no, that triggers again, so this is another attack 3, and then 6 plus 2 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 plus 1, so you do another 12. So you could easily do 50 damage combo with just 1 round setup, or maybe 2 rounds because you need to have this in your discard pile. This is how insane Blinkblade's combo pieces can get to. So I think this is what I meant at level 5. Like you can either go down a path where you can live, you know, precariously in like this. I mean, you do lose 2 cards, and then you're playing all your cards very, very quickly, so your stamina is going to take a massive hit. But then again, maybe you've taken system reboot, and you can reboot like your breakneck speed combo piece for another slightly less glorious moment where you do like 40 HP damage, but like 50 HP damage would destroy most things in Frosthaven in 1 round. It's just insane. And then the bottom half has this niche uses, allows you to go back to your starting class, starting hex, heal 10, recover 2 of your lost cards. You know, like, yeah, great. Sometimes you do want to do that. There's some scenarios that you have to go back to your starting places to escape, and this just trivializes it for Blinkblade. So, yeah. Again, Blinkblade very good at running out himself. But with Rush at the end, you can also help your team. Now, traditionally, I've not taken Fracture Timeline because at this point, I'm like, I've picked up Breakneck Speed. I'm like, I already have attack. I already have a Teleport 5. Do I really need another Teleport 7? And I think it's almost like if you take this at level 5, it's almost like you're deciding your future career path. If you take this at level 5, very unlikely then you're going to eye up a Teleport 7 and be like, oh, that's also good. You probably just take this and then you can combo, do the combo move, right? But if you take a Flashing Flurry like I did this time, and I tried Fracture Timeline, I was so impressed by how good Fracture Timeline is. Because your attack modifier deck is so good. I mean, maybe I should spend just a little bit more time talking about attack modifier deck. Let's look at it again. It is so good. You know, all your negative is out. You're only left with 1 zeros. 1 zeros and 1 -1. That's it. I think this is so crazy. And then with Simple Charm, you can take this out as well, very easily. Then you're left just with the 1 zeros. Everything else is a good outcome. Every single card you'll be happy to see. So yeah, your monsters, unlike the Bone Shaper summon, because this is a identical monster, at level 7, it has to be normal, to be fair. I mean, if you summon at level 7, if you summon a 27 HP, attack 4, move 2, 1 shield priest, that can draw crazy cards like, I mean, even the healing's good, surprisingly, but you can draw crazy cards like Angry Hex, double curse on enemy. You can draw cards like Immobilize on enemy. You can draw cards like Disarm on enemy at initiative 8. Not to mention, this is a tank. The HP is so good, and you have a natural shield. Like if you summon Living Spirit or Wind Demon, so many good enemies you can summon with Fracture Timeline. That is actually pretty amazing. And not only that, something I learned in this playthrough, thanks to my viewers, this is a spawned monster. This is not a typical summon. So when you spawn a monster, it gets to act immediately. So hey, you are fighting the priests and they dished out a whole bunch of like curses on you and it sucks, right? Or summon one and drop some curses right back at them. They disarmed you. Well, sucks for them. I'm not attacking. I am summoning a copy, and then they're getting disarmed right back. It's so good. It's so good. And also the interaction with attack modifier decks is not something I appreciated before. If your monster draws like the rolling modifier, because the monsters do not have an active area, this goes into your active area that you can use on your next attack. If your monster draws a time token thing, you gain the time token. Yeah, it's I would say at level 9, try it. Spawn a monster. Hopefully range, like so you have a bit more flexibility with that monster on how they attack. Let them use your attack modifier deck and just watch this monster do more damage than you do. You know, like summon an imp, then the imp will be cursing every single attack. It's just crazy. It's like having almost like another hero in the party when you've used Fracture Timeline, and it's well worth the loss to be played on the first round. And worst case, if you go into a scenario you don't find a monster you want to copy, just teleport 7, casual. Okay, so I've talked about Jack the Ripper build. Let's look at Sonic Hedgehog build. So this is where I just want to showcase the capability for Blinkblade to run. So all you need to do is set up double time. I mean, this could be even crazier with breakneck speed, but let's just say you set up double time the turn before, casual. Next turn you can go fast, and you can go Stab them all top, Power League bottom. Pretty basic. At level 6 you have access to both cards. And with just the rough boots, right? So you tap the rough boots, and now you start running. So this becomes move 3, triggers again, move 3, triggers again, move 3, triggers again, move 3. So you've moved 3 4 times. That's 12 hexes already on the top. You haven't even got to the bottom yet. You play a loss, this becomes 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 4 11, then plus 1 is 12. Now you've moved 24 hexes easy. And if you're worried about how to get through your solo scenario, here's your answer. And all you need is just one double time setup. That's it. So yeah. I think I just want to pull these two combos out. I mean, obviously there are many other iterations, but I find these two type of combo, the movement and the damage combo, is the one you're most likely going to be enjoying as Blinkblade, and they are just bananas. So I've talked a lot about the cards. Yeah, you probably have seen now as Blinkblade levels up. I think this is one of the themes I come back to, the patience theme. Be patient. I think at level 1, Blinkblade doesn't feel that good. But as you level up, at some point, it will just click and you become this crazy killing, running machine. So let's have a quick look at the perks. And I think we talked about the perks attack modifier deck a whole bunch already. I'm not going to really talk about it anymore. I think the only debate I think I have every time I play the Blinkblade, assuming I can't take all of the perks because this is my first character I'm rolling, is whether and when to take these. Because, I mean, for me, it's like removing the negative. It's just no-brainer. Obviously, replacing the zeros is just no-brainer. I think these are just no-brainers, and there are no good or bad ways of doing it in sequence. Like, I like to take out the negative first, but hey, if you want to live precariously and take these two first, these guys first, there's no real reason not to. All of them are just good, and I would just suggest you take all of them. The minus ones, I'm a bit ambivalent about them. I know Gripeaway really likes the time token perk for Blinkblade on the preview playthrough that he did with Blinkblade prior to Frosthaven's launch. I don't know if his opinion on this has changed or not. I like it, but I just don't like the minus ones. That's all. I don't like taking minus ones, and I don't like making my deck thicker, I guess. So, you know, like, I prefer to have a smaller deck. Often I find I'll have 2 perks I can't take, and for me, most of the time I don't take these. I think if you are taking these, if you're going for your Nova build, and when I did my Nova build, occasionally I drew one, and I liked it, but it wasn't game breaking for me, right? Like if I'm going to my Nova build, I'm kind of already planned out in my head that I'm gonna need to take a break, or I'm gonna need to play a card like Drive Recharge to get my token, or I'm like typically I would take Facing Blade and I will use the bottom half of Facing Blade to get me that extra token. I've already planned it out, you know, I'm not planning around drawing this in my deck to continue to power my Nova build, because you're preparing so much. You're playing 2 lost cards, then you're playing a lot of cards, and you're taking 2 hit point hit every turn to do what you need to do. You've already planned it out in your head at least like 3 turns in advance that you can what you're gonna do. And you're not waiting for this card to come up, be like, oh, now I have another time token. I was waiting for that I can do 1 more turn fast. I'm not really mentally doing that, I guess. That's why I don't, you know, because I don't plan around it, and I don't think it happens often enough that you can plan around it. And then when it does happen, sometimes it happens at the wrong times. Like, oh, I really don't want a -1 right now because I'm attacking a shielded enemy. I really need extra damage to put more pressure on the shield. It just sometimes feels quite bad to be drawing this. So yeah, over time I've learned to not rely on this gain 1 time token thing. If I gain it, it feels like a day with cake. But then I don't plan around having cake every day. Whereas I find this much better to, you know, like if you're not picking this, which 2 perks are you dropping? Because this is a 2 tick, right? Which one are you dropping? You know, realistically, like all of these are good, right? Yeah, you might say I don't want entropy transfer or perpetual motion, but I'm going to talk about them in a second. I find these to be actually more valuable than this. But yeah, this is such a great attack modifier deck. You just want to draw out of it as often as you can. The 3 non-attack modifier perks, Head Start, I think I've talked plenty. There's not much to say other than take it. Take it and play with it. It's so good. I think the only thing I would say is the interaction with boots. So I think which pair of shoes to wear when you leave the door as Blinkblade is actually quite important because of Head Start. So Head Start says at the start of your first turn, each scenario, you can perform move 3. Whereas Rough Boots and Wing Shoes both says during your turn. So you can't apply this effect to Head Start. Crew Boots just says during your move ability. So you can actually apply this to Head Start to make this a move 4. And that's crucial. I think earlier on, having the flexibility to do this is really, really important. And I say Crew Boots is almost like a very important early item for Blinkblade to make full potential of Head Start. And with Head Start, I think I talked about some of the combos you can do. You can do so many different combos. It's actually just fantastic. Perpetual Motion, I actually think is a really good, it's actually, for me, quite a secret good pick, because with Perpetual Motion, because the worst thing you want to do as an assassin type of character is you go into the back of the enemy line to take out some enemies, right? The worst thing that you want is to be immobilized there on turn you're not planning to be immobilized, and then you get destroyed. Because as the Blinkblade, yes, you can tank a little bit, but if you start losing cards, you'll find your turn is going to be over quicker and quicker. You just have less and less combat options. So you really don't want to be losing cards. And then also, because mobility is such a big part of your toolkit, losing mobility accidentally out of nowhere because you're immobilized is actually a really bad outcome for you. Really, really bad outcome. So I actually take Perpetual Motion most of the time as my second perk, just because I don't want to ever think about, you know, being immobilized by the priest at whatever initiative it was. I think it was a very, yeah, there we go. 8 initiative, right? Like, I don't want to worry about that. I don't want to worry about being shot in the foot by the archers or being chomped by the wolf and then losing my mobility, which is such a big part of my battle tactic and survivability toolkit. And not only that, Perpetual Motion helps you with making experimental adjustment bottom slow more playable, because like I said before, it just becomes a move 4. So yeah, I actually think Perpetual Motion triggers more often than you think, and if anything, it triggers at the most critical time when you want it to trigger. So again, I think I have this philosophy of Blinkblade is such a strong class. You don't necessarily need to make the stronger part of Blinkblade even stronger. So like, you know, the time token thing is already okay. You don't need to improve on that more than you need to. If anything, remove the weaknesses of Blinkblade is the way to play. So Perpetual Motion for me is the way to play. And it will give you that confidence. Like late game, it will give you the confidence that you can go in and you can come out. So if you want to make a big play, perpetual motion will help you, right? Like you don't have to worry about being shot in the foot and all of a sudden your big play goes nowhere. Like the worst thing you want is to do something like breakneck speed and then you're not being able to move on a fast turn. Perpetual motion give you that confidence, give you that independence to play assassin style Blinkblade. Of course, you can always teleport even if you're immobilized. So if you do have a teleport card, it does diminish perpetual motion's effectiveness a little bit. But I've never been sad about having perpetual motion on me. It just gives me a greater, wider margin for my play. Now, entropy transfer. I think a lot of people really diss entropy transfer. I actually really, really like it. It is only it's only an tapping item. You don't get to recover an item, so it's not like you can just get your potion back. It's not that broken. But I find entropy transfer to be really good for recovering certain type of items. And sometimes I think Blinkblade is a class you encourage a long rest, because when you're long rest, you get a token back. So it's kind of a net neutral feeling when you long rest. But entropy transfer means the time, because when you need to go, I guess when you need to go slow, short rest is when the situation really calls for it. And entropy transfer really helps you because Blinkblade's often wearing armor in anticipation of the worst case scenario of being hit, but most of the time you're not going to get hit. So you're going to have armors that you're probably not going to need in a situation where you just need to kill something very, very quickly, and that's when you're short resting. So what I'm thinking is a scenario where you haven't been hit much, so you still have armor charges, and at the same time the group is under such pressure that you don't have the time to long rest because you haven't cleaned up the first room in the first rest cycle. So you have to, of all people, you have to short rest to make sure the job is finished because you need this monster to die right now. That's when you short rest. And you probably have spent your hand item already, right? Your poison daggers, your heavy sword, or whatever that adds damage. Well, you can do it. You can just tab the item, tab the defensive item for the offensive item. Similarly, I think most of the time you're not really short resting to be defensive, but you could do it as well. You could tap your offensive item or your movement item for your defensive item. But I think most often you're probably just tapping your mobility items and your defensive item for your offensive item just to double down the damage and kill the enemy. And entropy transfer is really, really good for those very critical scenarios. Not to mention, there is one boss that gets really abused if you have poison every round, and entropy transfer just guarantees that because you can just tap all your other items for a poison dagger and you can just generate poison every single round. And it just trivializes that scenario completely. So yeah, entropy transfer, I actually really like it and I take it all the time on my Blinkblade. And I don't use it all the time, but I like to have the option to use it. Right, I think we've talked enough about Blinkblade's perks. Let's have a quick look at the items and we can wrap up. Onto the items, I think starting item for me is guaranteed 30 gold into Poison Dagger and Amulet of Life. It enables your Power League play, enables your Twin Strike play. It fits in with your character, is very good. I will actively fight for these items and you can carry your Poison Dagger for the entirety of your career. Amulet of Life probably gets dropped for Simple Charm for me around about the time you pick up Stab Them All. But yeah, great item. The boots we talked about, I think jump boots and rough boots both add something. Jump boots, if you're not taking teleport, adds the critical piece to allow you to jump over something, which is, speaks for itself. Rough boots, the +1 is amazing because as you've seen Sonic the Hedgehog play, it applies to every single one of your move. So it has much greater value for you than for many other classes, and it's a great easy pickup early for you. Simple Charm, I know some people don't really care about having negatives in their deck. I really hate having negative in my deck. I just want to be able to say, you have 3 hit points, I'm doing 3 damage, I'm guaranteed to kill you unless I draw a miss. I just like having that backup in my mind while I play, and yeah, Simple Charm I value very, very highly. And finally, Blinkblade is definitely a power potion addict. You do so many attacks and power potion is, I think Blinkblade is the reason. Blinkblade is one of the classes that means why power potion is broken in Frosthaven, I think. But hey, you play game to feel good, right? It's not all about balance. I get the balance point, but feel good, enjoy it. Use the power potion on the Blinkblade and go nuts. Okay, so I think what else to say? Solo scenario I've done on +3. There is a bit of a mistake in that video, but I don't think it's critical. I have done the +3 difficulty for solo scenario for my recording on YouTube, so feel free to watch that. It is challenging, but it's not impossible. Even at a slightly lower level, which I think I did it on level 6 maybe? I think I did on level 6, so yeah, and at low prosperity as well, so I didn't have all the 3 herb potions and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely doable on +3 difficulty level, and you feel great when you do it. Masteries, I think I talked about this one already. I think this one's not too hard. You know, just initiative weave. If you don't know what that is, it's basically you go fast and you go slow, and using that faster initiative and combined with slower initiative, you avoid enemies. So I'm not going to go into too much of that. If you're watching this video and you're watching my channel, I assume you're hardcore enough for the Haven games that you know what that means. And yeah, the solo item for Blinkblade is fantastic. Use it. I love using it with stab them all. Just stab them all and getting it back and stab them all again. What's not to like? So yeah, there it is. That's my Blinkblade thoughts, review, analysis, reflection, whatever you want to call it. I hope you enjoy that, and as I retire more classes, I'll be publishing more of these. So thank you for watching, and enjoy stabbing. See you next time. Goodbye.